I'd like to introduce some people in my company and to tell you a little bit about Advanced Roofing myself. I hope everybody had a great eclipse day yesterday. We're in the solar business, so we lost a little revenue for our clients, but that's okay. It was a great day. Only happens so often. So my name's Rob Quinn-Aarons. I founded Advanced Roofing in 1983 after working for one roofing company through high school and college, and he had me open a branch in Atlanta and then in Fort Lauderdale. So started here in Fort Lauderdale in 1983, same phone number. Got into HVAC in 1994, bought a small air conditioning company. In 2006, we got into solar. So today we're the largest commercial roofing contractor, solar contractor, and then we also have the HVAC division in South Florida. We serve the Fort County, and we do travel the state as well for that. So I run it with a great executive team, which includes my two boys. You see them on the bottom there, Kevin and Mike. My twins, they're 40, and along with Clint Sockman, who I'll introduce in a minute. Upcoming webinars, our next and last one for the season is on the 21st hurricane preparedness. Great one to see. What to do before, during, and after storms. It's a great webinar. We have a lot of good feedback. Pretty much 9.5 out of 10 every time we do that one. Next, please. So like I said, these are what we do. HVAC, lightning protection, re-roofing. We don't do a lot of new construction, so that's what really makes us different than others. We see what fails by tearing off roofs and what lasted 10 years, what lasted 20 years, and many of our roofs go 20, 30 years. So and we do that by repairs and maintenance. We have a proprietary roof asset management program. Talk about that a little bit. We can save roofs, get them last longer with coatings, and then we also have electric in the solar division, which we talked about. Next, please. What makes us different? Every job we do, we treat it as we're going to go for award. It's a way we've been nationally recognized by many of the manufacturers as far as being their top tier contractor. We have commitment to safety. We have a 0.58 experience mod. If you know what that is, that's 42% better than the companies our size in our industry. And we have over 730 employees, 80 plus service vehicles, and 7 offices around the state. We carry more liability insurance and bonding. We have $150 million worth of bonding, and we give back. We just did the MS bike ride for our 18th year, and we've raised over 800,000 in that. Boys and Girls Club, we work with them both financially, and we're doing some training next weekend. Our 17th year, we go out and the kids come in. They have a industry day, and different industries come in and teach the girls and boys what it's about. So that's a little bit about us. And our branches are here for the main headquarters, Fort Lauderdale, and in Palm Beach, Sanford, Tampa, Jacksonville, Fort Myers, and Miami-Dade. And we own our buildings, all but Fort Myers, which we're going to buy a building, which, we don't just come in. A lot of national companies come in, they'll rent a little space for a while and figure out they don't like the market and then leave. So we've committed to continue to grow with my boys and grandsons for many, many decades to come. And that's what a good warranty should be, a company that's going to be there when you need them. And then, so we're going to have a drawing at the end, so please stay on, and there'll be a barcode, and you're going to have a choice of air tags. We gave these out at Christmas, and a big hit. Put in your luggage, put it in your kid's backpack, where he is, or whatever you want to do with it. So with that said, I'm going to introduce, we have the learning objectives today is roof maintenance, types of roofs, what traffic is on your roof, waterproofing, how important that is, parapet walls, and make sure that you put a new roof on, it doesn't get destroyed by something outside the roof. Weather condition, we talk about warranties, why it's important, what type of warranties, how important is drainage by code, and then what's really practical in the surrounding areas and metal types, roof perimeters, when to use vapor barriers. So it's going to be a great program. We're going to move it along fairly quickly. Slides will be available at the end. And now I'd like to introduce Clint Sockman. He's a vice president owner with us. He's been here over 18 years. He's as well as a lot of us in the company. Has been started at a young age. His family had a roofing company up in Ohio, came down as a project manager for us and worked himself all the way up to a VP of the roofing. And he runs our advanced green division, the solar division, which is growing faster than any other division we have just because of the Inflation Reduction Act and the great incentives on solar. He holds a Florida State General Contractor solar license. He qualifies for that. So with that said, Clint, take it away.
Excellent. Thanks, Rob. Good morning, everybody. Welcome. And yeah, like Rob said, we have a great program. We're going to kick it right off with the first topic of today, which is roof maintenance. But before we get into the roofing maintenance, time for a quick poll. Make sure everybody's awake out there. You've had enough coffee. Which of the learning objectives do you think is the most important one from today's list of 10? Roof maintenance system types, roof traffic, waterproofing, weather, warranties, drainage, the surrounding areas, metal types, and the roofing perimeter. Go ahead and fill your answers in. We'll wait for those to come in for a second. Oh, people liking my topic, which is roof maintenance, and that was actually my response. But the truth is, they're all very important. I don't necessarily believe that one is more important than the other. When you look at this holistically, everything here really has a heavy weight on the investment that you're making into a roof system. So with that, we're going to kick off with roof maintenance. I talked about the investment before, and the truth is, a roof system is often one of the largest, if not the largest, investment that you'll make into your building. And roof maintenance is one of the best things that you can do to make sure that you get your money out of that investment. Some of the key questions that we start to ask ourselves when we're developing a maintenance plan: what is our service history? How much are we spending to maintain this roof? And what have we been doing in the past to maintain this roof? So, have we been taking care of the system? Do we have a plan in place that we're annually looking at it, taking the temperature and our health of that roof system? What is our investment horizon and ownership needs? Every building and every owner has kind of a different goal. This could be a long-term hold, something that's going to be passed down from, generation to generation. This could be an investment property that you may sell, and you may have different answers. The current roof condition we talked about, does it affect the business operation itself? There are some businesses that have no tolerance to leaks, thinking hospitals, sensitive manufacturing facilities, convention centers. Jason's team, you'll hear from soon, is working on the Orlando Convention Center re-roof right now, one of the biggest contracts that's ever been undertaken. And, they are very sensitive. So, what is that and how does that affect the business operations? And then obviously the roof type. Some things that people think are very important, but the truth is maybe they're not as important as you might think, and we'll discuss why, but a roof age and the warranty. It's important to get a good warranty. It's also important to know the age of the roof. But the truth is, we've seen roofs with a 30-year warranty have to be replaced after 10 years, and we've seen roofs with a 10-year warranty last 30 years. So these things don't necessarily determine how, in what stage you're in your roof. But we start asking all these questions and gathering this information, and we get answers coming back. And we're solving for questions like, can this roof be maintained if we have a good preventative maintenance program, a ramp program, roof asset management? And if it can, let's develop that maintenance plan to make sure we get the most life that we can and the best return on the investment. Sometimes it'll come back and we determine that this roof actually has to have some pretty substantial repairs, like, a liken to maybe needing surgery. But if we do that surgery, maybe we replace the wall flashings or, we do some coatings, we can get it into then a maintainable state. So we need to develop a repair plan, execute on those repairs, and then talk about what it would be, from that point, and it's in a maintainable state. But maybe the answers become that, hey, this roof has just aged out to the point to where we can't really repair it. Maybe we need to look at a full, coating or a recover. What would the budget for that be? What would I expect from a warranty term and a lifespan? And then if not, maybe coatings and recovers aren't even a replacement, and we actually have to, or an option, and we have to look at a total roof replacement and tear off. Next slide, please. So we talked about the life cycle and what the expectations are, and this life cycle cost of ownership is a big discussion that we have when we're planning for maintenance. We're planning for, or sometimes we fail to plan for maintenance, and now we're having to plan for a re-roof. But a roof definitely goes through this cycle, and depending on what we choose to do in the middle of our life, much like the health of our vehicles or our homes or our actual bodies, can really affect when phases 3 and 4 come into play. Obviously, we install a new roof. We hope that it's been properly designed. The materials were selected appropriately for the system or the application that it's being put down in. And once that's then handed over, we go into this maintenance cycle, and we get a warranty. We think it should last 20 years, and that maintenance cycle is required every year for us to get that expected lifetime. At some point, we start nearing the end of that lifetime, whatever that may be, and then we start looking at restoration and extension options, whether that's significant repairs, that's coatings and restorations, and then ultimately there comes a point where every roof does have to be replaced. And the key inputs to understanding the cost of this life cycle analysis are obviously the initial cost, the life expectancy, and we say life expectancy because warranty is a deceiving term. It's not like a roof automatically dies and needs to be replaced after 20 years, and it's also like it won't necessarily last 20 years with no maintenance or care. So we talk about life expectancy. What could you expect if you never touch your roof after you install it? What could you expect if you really take good care of it? Those are two different things. Obviously, the maintenance costs, and then there's some other ancillary factors that play into this life cycle cost of ownership, like energy savings, installing reflective coatings, energy efficient single ply or modified bitumen roofs, additional installations. These are all things that can cut your energy costs and actually help bring a greater ROI. And then ultimately, when we're talking about phase 4 of this life cycle, the disposal costs. If we have to tear off lightweight insulating concrete or significant amounts of insulation, these things carry not only a heavy labor cost and expense, but also disposal costs, trucking, and then the material expense to put that back in place when you do need to replace it. Some facts about life cycle cost of ownership, and these are really backed by studies from the Department of Defense, buildings.com, and other sources. 80% of all roofs fail prematurely due to lack of maintenance and poor craftsmanship upon installation. What does that mean? We can install the best roof and use the best craftsmanship possible, but if we're not up there on an annual basis, checking our flashings, checking our sealants, making sure that there's been no damage from other trades and maintenance trades up there, a great roof can fail before it should. And then conversely, even if you do great maintenance, but it was improperly installed, or maybe the wrong system was selected for the building use, that will also cause premature failure. Another fun fact here, unplanned repairs and reactive maintenance expenses are 3 to 5 times the cost of planned maintenance. We go back to this all the time. Changing the oil in the car is cheaper than a new engine. Laying off some of the fun foods is cheaper than triple bypass. These are just facts of life, and planned maintenance and taking care of your roof are no different, although your roof is out of sight and out of mind, and you don't get to drive it every day, and you don't get to look at it in the mirror. It's still an asset. It's something that's been invested in, and proactive maintenance is certainly much cheaper than reactive maintenance. And not to mention this next bullet point, which is a proactively maintained roof gives you over 50% the expected lifetime than something that's been reactively maintained. Why is that? Moisture and ultraviolet light are the killers of roof systems. Moisture can get in, cause delamination, cause blistering, cause premature failure of the plasticizers, and then UV degradation comes from things like granule loss or our sealants falling apart and allowing water to infiltrate. The average roof that's proactively maintained, 21 years life compared to 13 years for a reactively maintained roof. What does that mean? 50% longer extension on the lifetime. It means you get to delay that capital expense of a roof replacement that much longer. And we talked about this, the overwhelming cost that roof replacement is often the single most expensive construction that an owner will incur after the initial build out. I would think concrete restoration maybe is creeping up there quickly in the South Florida marketplace as well, but roof replacements are expensive. Next slide. So budgeting for maintenance, and the next slide, one of my favorite slides, is what happens if we don't budget for it. But reactive maintenance we talked about. This is picking up the phone when water's coming in the building. Proactive maintenance. This is actually developing a plan, coming out and taking care of things before they're an issue. It allows us scheduling freedom. It allows us to not do things on emergency rates. It allows for much cheaper repairs. The United States Air Force did a multi-year study, and this is where we came up with that, 3 to 5 times cheaper on all of their buildings. And they factored over the course of, I believe it was like 5-year study, reactive maintenance cost them 15 cents per square foot, while proactive maintenance cost them 4 cents per square foot, both yielding the same results. So it's just much more expensive to go that way. We talked about warranties. NDL warranties do not cover maintenance. So just because we issue you a 20-year warranty, no dollar limit warranty, that means if you spent $1 million today, in 20 years, they would still give you $1 million to replace it if it failed. If you fail to maintain the roof, that warranty is not worth anything. And that starts in the very first year of ownership. It is no different than your car. You don't change the oil, you blow it up in 20,000 miles, and they will not give you a new engine because you didn't do your maintenance. And roofing warranties are no different. So if you really read your fine print, you're required to do the maintenance. You're required to do the inspections to confirm that there's been no, damages to maintain the maintainable items. And you must do that regularly. You must keep records of it. Otherwise, you're really opening the door to have a warranty completely voided. Next slide. And now we talk about the cost of not budgeting for maintenance. This is the visualization of that United States Air Force study that was put in place. So we have a 25,000 square foot building, and we're going to analyze what the cost of ownership looks like in the event that we proactively maintain it, or we reactively maintain it and we have to replace it earlier on in its lifetime. So we're going to make some assumptions that this new roof costs $10 per square foot, or it's a $250,000 investment, that we're going to spend 4 cents a square foot to put this under a roof asset management program, our grant program. We're proactively fixing things rather than 15 cents to reactively come out there and fix it when it's a problem. And then we're going to make the assumption that this 20-year new roof that we installed is going to get 25 years life expectancy under a ramp, but it's going to fail in 15 years under a reactive program. And in both, or in the reactive program, I'm actually factoring not doing anything from an expense standpoint for the ramp for the first 5 years. And then for both of them, we're going to factor a 3% cost of inflation over the time frame that we're studying, which is 20 years. When we do that and we stack all of these things up, we start to look at, hey, my average cost of ownership, this life cycle cost of ownership. Every year, if we maintain this roof, I'm going to get a 25-year lifespan, and I'm spending $11,000 per year. But in the event that we're going to do reactive maintenance, in year 15, we now have to replace that roof, another capital expense. Again, we layered in 3% inflation over 13 years. And our annual cost of ownership comes up all the way to $28,000 a year to own that asset. That's well over 2.5 times the price to own it by just failing to maintain it, to get the longest life cycle you can out of it. What does that mean in dollars over that term, that same 25-year term? You would spend $715,000 to install that roof the first time, do reactive repairs for the next 13 years. Actually, it's only 8 years because we said we did nothing for 5. We just sat on it. And then you have to replace it again. $715,000 expense. Meanwhile, we install that initial investment for $250,000. We spend 4 cents a square foot to maintain it for 25 years, and our total investment is $275,000. Again, those are dramatic numbers. You can use that capital to maintain your business, expand your business, buy new equipment, whatever you might do, put it in the bank. it doesn't matter. But this is all capital that could be put back into use in other places rather than replacing a roof because you failed to maintain it and reach its full potential. Next slide. And one thing that we always like to talk about when we're talking about ramp maintenance is really rewinding to that first phase in the life cycle, what lies beyond the initial investment. So we're making choices about, whether I should put down TPO or PVC or modified bitumen, and getting the right roof system is key. And understanding what you get for your money is key. TPO has its applications. We don't think that any of these systems are necessarily wrong in certain circumstances. But when we talk about the owner's goals, we talk about the building need, whether it has a lot of traffic on the roof or access is difficult to get to, you start asking yourself questions about, hey, should I get a 20-year TPO, or maybe should I invest into a 30-year PVC? I mean, what I can tell you is if you're not going to maintain it, by all means, buy as cheap as you possibly can. But if you are going to maintain it, this is an analysis of that same 25,000 square foot roof. We buy that $10 square foot 20-year TPO system, or we're going to invest an additional 10% and upgrade to a 30-year warranted PVC single ply roof system. In both scenarios, we've normalized this to have 4 cents per square foot for the roof asset management cost over the 20-year term of the TPO roof and over the 30-year term of the PVC roof. We layer in that same inflation rate of 3%. And then we look at the replacement cost and the cost of ownership. A 20-year TPO system maintained with the ramp program has an average cost of ownership of $23,000 per year over that 20 years. The 30-year system comes all the way down to $10,000 per year cost of ownership. Now, so when we really look at this, the key thing to consider is this: I only spent 10% more on my roof to upgrade to this 30-year warranty to get that PVC roof system. But what am I getting for that 10%? I'm cutting my cost of ownership by nearly 60%. If I maintain and get that 30-year TPO, 30-year PVC to perform as expected under a maintenance program. And we kind of look at the stack of how this adds up over the lifetime. You have to ultimately spend another $195,000 above and beyond the initial investment to get that next 10 years of PVC that you would get out of your PVC if you went with TPO. So not everybody has a 30-year time horizon, and we're not necessarily saying that. But if you do, and you have a long-term view, this is absolutely a tool in the toolbox to make a decision on the type of roof that you're installing. And this analysis can really be ran with every roof system that's out there. With that, I am turning it over to Jason Carruth. Jason has been with us, I think, 15 years. He started as a service manager in our South Florida office. A lot like me, grew up in a roofing family. His dad is a fixture in the roofing community in South Florida. Jason now runs our Orlando office, one of our largest satellite offices, and he's really taken on some enormous projects. I mentioned that Orange County Convention Center re-roof that we're putting on right now. Jason?
Yeah, appreciate it, Clint. Yeah, so that was number one. We got the top 10 things that property managers want to know, and Clint basically just went over the first one. We ran the poll in the beginning. The most important one that he just identified was roof maintenance, maintaining your owner's assets, and the best way to do it. Next slide. I'm going to talk to you about number two, and then I'm going to hand it over to Mike, and Mike's going to go a lot quicker than we are. He's going 3 through 10. So I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit about roof system types and coatings, which seems to be a very popular subject when just because of the ability to basically think that the coating is always the solve-all instead of having to re-roof. But I'm going to kind of elaborate a little bit on when coatings are best utilized. This slide here, Billy talks about the 4 different types of coatings. And then it's a little slide gauge in regards to the different highlights, the reflectivity, tensile strength, ponding water, and the initial investments. Next slide. So the two most popular that are the coatings are the acrylics and the silicones. A couple things I want to point out in regards to roof coatings is the roof system pretty much has to qualify for a coating prior to just going up there and painting it and getting a warranty from a manufacturer or getting a warranty from a contractor. There's a lot of due diligence that needs to be done to the existing roof system to understand whether or not a coating is applicable. A lot of things is the initial moisture that's in the existing roof system. We like to have positive drainage of the slope of the roof system when you're applying different types of coatings. You also have to have adhesion tests done to the coating and the existing substrate of the roof to make sure that it's going to bond, it's going to adhere. But some of the differences here in the acrylic and the silicone, silicones are moisture cured and they can withstand a lot better for ponding water. These here is just some bullet points that I'm going to identify. The acrylic side, it's a lower initial cost for the installation of an acrylic coating. However, you want to have it on a very good roof that has positive drainage. Acrylic coatings under ponding water or any water that stands on the roof over a long period of time is going to start to degrade and peel, where silicone has a better ponding water residual bond to longer lifespan to where the coating is going to perform better under ponding water. The acrylics are, like I said, on the lower end of the cost of the initial. All of these coatings can get anywhere between a 5 to a 25-year warranty, depending on the application method and the thickness of the coating of what you're putting down. The preparation of the existing roof has a lot to do with the warranty types and how long your warranty periods are. We've run into a lot of questions that property managers ask us in regards to whether or not coatings suffice insurance companies. There have been some aspects where we've gone and we've actually coated some roofs and insurance companies have accepted them. It's on a one-on-one basis. It's not a solve-all for getting the insurance company to extend your policy. I would just basically run the scope of work by your insurance company directly. Next slide. Benefits. Really, all the coatings have a benefit when the roof system is applicable. It can basically increase the life of the roof system without having to do a complete replacement. The cost difference can be anywhere. Sometimes you get roof systems that can, on the coatings, that can be anywhere between $5 to $8 a square foot, where a re-roof square foot cost can be in anywhere between 10 to sometimes 20 and even up, depending on the difficulties of the building per square foot. So having a roof system that qualifies and putting a coating system on it with a warranty period up to 20 years, sometimes have 25 years, it is a huge benefit. The impact of the building, of whether or not there's of what's going on inside the building, the business, it's very minimal on the impact. There's not a lot of loud noises. There's not any heavy debris that's coming off the roof when you're doing a re-roof. There are some benefits in the state with a couple of rebate programs that are still out there. I know that Jacksonville Utility Authority currently has a rebate program for applying coatings on roofs, as well as the Orlando Utility Commission, the city of Orlando. When you're doing coatings, they have rebate programs up to a certain amount per square foot, with a max amount of $5,000, I know, at Orlando. So another benefit, you get a little bit of a rebate back when you're applying coatings on specific roof systems. They are tax deductible. They are considered maintenance to roof systems a lot of times. A big question I get also is, do I need to pull a permit when I am coating a roof system? Typically, that is up to the municipality wherever the building is located. Calling the building department, asking them if a permit is required on a roof coating. is up to the municipality. And when you're doing re-roofing projects, obviously a permit is required. So make sure that your contractor or us, whoever's installing the coating, has done their due diligence by contacting the building department to make sure that everything is permitted. Next one. So different types of roof types. Low slope roofing is made up of typically two different types. Or three different types. You get a built up gravel roof, you get a modified bitumen roof, and you get a single ply roof system. Talk a little bit about modified roof systems. Modifieds are multi-ply asphaltic base systems that are either put down in a cold adhesive, they can be torch applied, or they can be put down in hot asphalt. They're usually multiple layers. They have an anchor sheet that is attached to the substrate, whether it's through insulation or to a metal deck, or if it's to a lightweight concrete deck, or whether it's to a concrete deck directly. There's all different types of systems that can be installed with a modified. A modified is a very good roof system for heavy traffic. When you have a lot of traffic on the roof, let's give you an example of it. A lot of AC units or mechanical equipment that's on the roof. When you have people that are servicing those on a monthly or quarterly basis, the modified roof system has a better foot traffic as well as puncture resistance than single ply roof systems do. Ponding water underneath modified roof systems tends to be a little bit of an issue. It degrades the water is eating away at the asphalt. Water and asphalt really don't go together when they're together. So you want to have positive drainage when you're utilizing modifieds. We put in what's called a tapered insulation package to your roof system, which provides positive slope. Typically on re-roof applications, we have a minimum of an 1/8 inch an 1/8 inch slope per foot. And then you can install a quarter as well, basically pushing the water to the drain to get the water off the roof after a rain event is the idea there. Single ply roof systems, probably one of the most popular right now is what we are installing in regards to statewide, in beneficial on a lot of open big retail centers, big box warehouses, a lot of really what property managers are focusing on a lot are retail centers that are being managed, big box warehouses, along with roof systems that don't have a lot of foot traffic. Different types of single plies, EPDMs, typically not used in the state of Florida. TPO, that stands for thermoplastic olefin, and PVCs. PVCs are polyvinyl chloride, just like your PVC pipe. All of them come in different types of thicknesses. The thicknesses basically are the driver of the warranty periods as well. You can get 60 mil TPOs and 60 mil PVCs up to 20 and 25-year warranties, and then you can get 80 mil PVCs and 80 mil TPOs and up. Sometimes provide longer period warranties as well. Single ply, one ply of membrane. When I say 60 mils, 30 mils is 1 millimeter thick, so it gives you an average of how thick a 60 mil membrane is. About 7 sheets of paper together, all mend together, and that's how thick it is. It has a matte backing in it, where the membrane or the TPO or the polyvinyl chloride is poured into the fiberglass scrim, and then it gets rolled out. It comes in 10-foot sections, comes in 12-foot sections, and I actually just saw the other day there's actually 16-foot sheets that they're making. Gets rolled out, the membrane gets heat welded together and causes it to be a watertight roof system. White reflectivity, another benefit there from a single ply roof system. A lot of the solar reflectivity index in the state of Florida with the sun hitting down on a white roof membrane obviously cools the building a little bit better than a black EBDM or even a modified roof system at that. So two of the most popular roof systems that we install that are out there, that we walk roofs every day. And these are the types of roof systems primarily that are in the state of Florida for flat roofing. You also have slope roofing, shingles, tile, metal, standing seam metal roofs. We have slate and shakes, which are minimal in the state as well. Just to kind of give you guys a couple other roof types to discuss. Next slide, please. To talk to you a little bit about probably what we were talking about. This kind of goes with what Clint was talking about before, is your maintenance programs and your management programs. He did mention RAMP. He said roof asset management plans. As a property manager, one of the most important things that you guys could utilize is the history of the roof systems and understanding how much money you're putting into the roofs and repairs every year, and having some type of tool or online software or cloud-based system to manage your roof systems. When you call a roofer out and they go out and they do a repair, do you have access to what was done, when it was done, what the actual pictures before and after pictures of what the defect was and how it was repaired? There's assets management tools out there that have inspection reports where a certified technician would walk the roof, identify everything that they're finding on the roof system, including how does it drain, how many drains does it have, heights of parapet walls. They also identify all of your HVAC equipment, all your mechanical equipment, fans, doing a complete inspection of the inventory of the roof, what type of roof it is, and then the best thing they can do is actually take a core sample of your roof to find out whether or not there's any wet, how many roof systems are on there. The state of Florida allows you to have 2 roof systems installed on a roof before you have to remove. On the 3rd time, you have to tear everything off down to the initial substrate and start over again. So doing a core sample on the existing roof system to find out what is there is beneficial for everybody when you're maintaining a roof or keeping a log of what you have. The softwares also provide budgeting reports. The budgeting reports are very beneficial in regards to seeing how much money we're being spent and also how much it costs to do complete replacements when the roof cycle runs out. So storing your warranties, and it also stores your service history of every time you have a leak call. Kind of speed it up. Mike's got 3 through 9, so we got 20 minutes left. Site inspection reports. Basically, this is what I talked about, the technician going out. He's doing a walk of the entire roof from beginning to end, from one side to the other, every aspect of your roof system to kind of get an idea of what's going on, how the roof drains, whether or not he finds any deficiencies, whether or not he giving you an idea of how much life cycle the roof has left in it, whether or not it's maintainable. Clint talked about maintenance programs. There could be a small impact of repairs that can be done, and then the roof system can be put onto a maintenance program. These are all things that our company offers, and we're going to show you how to get that free service here at the end. So as we move forward, Mike's going to go through bullet points 3 through 9. Rob alluded to Mike being a twin. His brother is Kevin, and all you, buddy.
Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. We'll get kicked off here. If you got any questions as we're going through this, don't hesitate to drop a note in the chat. I'm watching and I'll answer it. I had a couple questions so far. Be happy to dive into a little topic a little bit further or answer something that we didn't cover. All right, next slide. Roof traffic. From my experience, roof traffic is one of your most detrimental items on a roof. It all depends on what the roof system is. For example, Jason was talking to TPO, thermoplastic roofs. Without any walkway protection, which we'll cover a little bit later, HVAC contractor up there toting a new compressor or a fan across the roof, and he drops it or drops a screwdriver, that has great potential for punctures. If you have a modified roof, those potential to reduce a lot because you have additional plies up there. So, you know, roof traffic, controlling the roof traffic to the roof. I like to see a good tip for property managers is have a sign-in sheet that for everybody that goes up on that roof. So, you know, they're responsible if they do damage to roof. We have placards that we provide our customers as well that we put at all roof access points. Another new item that's up on the roof traffic on the roof is the fall hazards. Key safety, and we'll go through a slide a little later, has some great fall safety items, whether it's the perimeter, roof hatches, chains, guardrails around roof hatches, or even guardrails around your HVAC systems. Depending where you are in the state of Florida, they require, the code requires that if an AC unit is within, call it 10 foot of the edge, some jurisdictions interpret the code different ways, you need a guardrail at that perimeter. It's not very aesthetic to the eye, but it protects the individual up there on working on the roof. Another item that I have seen happen in the field a lot is, which we're starting to do on a lot of public stores, is put a safety line, yellow line or a different color membrane around the perimeter of the roof, in yellow or gray, depends, within 10 to 15 feet of the perimeter of the roof. Next slide. A little bit more on the yellow warning lines and the walkways. I highly encourage, if you don't have walkways around the serviceable side of your equipment, we put the walkways in. If it's a coating, we can do them even with coating. We can do them on a modified roof with coating or with actual membrane. On single ply roofs, we use a thicker 80 to 120 mil membrane. That's usually a different shade of color. Sometimes customers don't want to see the different shade. We can do it in a white membrane of the roof. But this will give you another layer of protection where the individual that is working on ancillary equipment on the roof will hopefully stay within those lines and reinforce that to protect your roof over time. Next slide. Waterproofing, number 4. This is one that bites a lot of people. From my experience, the magical question for those of you that are managing condos is, do we do the water restoration project first on the exterior of the building, or do we do the roof first? As a roofer, I'm going to tell you, you need to get the exterior balconies and the rest of the restoration done first. But some people aren't in a position to do that because their roof is so deteriorated that it's leaking. If you guys have ever been involved, and most of you have, of a restoration project at the exterior of the building, they put a lot of staging and scaffolding up there called swing stage. This requires them to put ballast, big steel beams on the roof, which will tear up a brand new roof. I've seen it day in and day out with roofs. If they are going to do that on your brand new roof, and it just so happens that's how it got phased in, please make sure that you get a roof inspection before they start and after, so that if they damage the roof or when they damage the roof, you'll have some documentation of this process of what they did and what happened. I've seen customers have great swing stage contractors, and I've seen ones that just went totally wrong and destroyed a brand new roof. The other big items which are below are, the windows. We put brand new roofs on, and there's clear story windows that are just above the roof that are leaking on the stills and allowing water to get behind the flashings. So it's something to take into consideration. Skylight atriums are always a nightmare. We do have a couple good partner contractors that we work with that do a lot of the walls that will reglaze or recaulk a lot of those atriums because they tend to leak, and as they age, they're very hard to service and maintain. And the one that is the tell end all is the walls. If we're looking at a project, you have your existing counter flashing that might be 8 to 12 inches high on a CMU wall or concrete wall, and then you have stucco. And a lot of times when people are painting buildings or waterproofing them, they'll do the exterior and they always forget about the interior parapet walls. I like to always give the customers an option of what I call wrapping and capping the walls, or bring the membrane up the wall and over. We can put a half-inch Densdeck board, gypsum board on the wall, and then wrap it. This will give you a uniformed roofing system from the wall all the way down to the roof. What happens a lot of time is we'll have to, use the existing counter flashing that is in your stucco stop there, and there will be cracks on the wall above that, and the water will migrate down into the roofing system. Waterproofing is very important. Weather conditions. We have in the great state of Florida, the summertime and even in the wintertime, it'll get warm and then these cold fronts will come through. We'll have a very drastic change in temperatures. Think about it in the summertime, it's on that roof, it could be 120, 130 degrees. I've seen it dead heat of the summer, and then a microburst cell will run through, and that air, you always feel that cool air will get down to 50 degrees. So think about the 70-degree temperature differential. What that does is it requires things to it's expanded when it's hot and it contracts when it's cold. So that'll put a lot of stress on your different metals, your membranes. I've seen membranes crack. That's why you see a lot of failures in the summertime, not just because of the rain. It could rain all winter, you won't see a failure. And then on an older roof, you'll start seeing those failures in the summertime with cracking membranes or seams splitting because of those temperature differentials. The other one that we all know very well in Florida is high winds. If you're seeing leaks, only when you have a squall come through and you have 40-knot winds out of the northeast. Usually that wind-driven rain is at equipments or windows, things of that nature. We go on a lot of leak calls that we install. We track all of we call them captive leaks, and I actually review them on a weekly basis, seeing if there's a common theme to make us better. But I tell you, 95% of those leak calls that we go back on a completed roof is from wind-driven rain at ancillary equipment, mechanical, windows, things of that nature. So, the other thing to look at is on the perimeter metals, missing fasteners. If you're dealing with prefabbed metal buildings, that goes back to expansion and contraction. In the summertime, we see a lot of the fasteners backing out on the hangars or warehouses. So, you can even have your maintenance staff retighten those fasteners. And what happens on those fasteners over time from the expansion and contraction, they'll start to back themselves out. And you'll get the rubber grommets, the EPDM grommets that are in those fasteners that keep them watertight, will get UV light, and that UV light degrades that EPDM grommet over time. So you can either replace the fasteners or you can tighten them back down, or there's coating options as well to put over the top of them. Next slide, please. Types of warranties, number 6. So buyer beware, Clint alluded it to earlier. Sometimes the roofing manufacturer warranties aren't worth the paper they're written on. I'm the first guy to tell you that. Know what warranty you're getting from your contractor. We prefer NDL warranties with our manufacturers, and what that means is no dollar limit on the repairs. They're going to guarantee they're going to keep your building watertight for the period of the warranty. Standard in our industry is 20 years, but they will range from 10 to 30 depending on the system. You can usually get another 10 years out of them if you're putting additional plies, additional fastening in the system. So the no dollar limit, they'll come out there and fix. You have a leak after the contractor period, which is usually two years. Sometimes they'll go to 5 years depending on the manufacturer, and they will come out there and fix it. Manufacturer material warranties is basically saying that material is not going to fail. They're not going to warranty any leaks. It's a very low fee. I preferably don't like to do these warranties. You'll see tier 2, tier 3 contractors doing these because the manufacturers will not write them NDL warranties. NDL warranties is the way you really want to go on your manufacturer warranties. Now, contractor warranties, in my opinion, if a roof system is installed properly in the first two years, you're going to know if you have an issue after you go through one rainy season and the second rainy season up there. And if you're properly maintaining it, it will last. What I see a lot of times is people forget to do the maintenance, or they do it for the first 2 years and the board changes, and then we're sitting there with caulking that it's failed. There's maintenance items on roofs, as Clint spoke about, and then there's a lot of finger pointing going on in year 5 or 6 or 7 of why is there water getting into the roof system. Then we got to tear out some flashings just because we didn't spend a couple $1,000, go up there, remove some existing caulk and caulk it. Next slide. Insurance. I had a question earlier. and it's a great topic. I have a whole slide deck on insurances. I've been on a couple panels. It's crazy out there. The insurance company is just denying everybody, wanting you to get a new roof. I can tell you this, you can negotiate with your insurance companies, find another carriers. It's a lot of work. I'm not naive to that. But the question earlier, and I'm sure some of you others have it, will coatings work for the insurance companies as a new roof? The answer is not usually, but I have seen it go either way. If a roof is installed after 2007, and that's kind of the benchmark the state of Florida enacted with the new legislation, that they consider that the new code per se, unofficially, then and that roof has enhanced fastening patterns. So if the roof installed after 2007, I have seen them sign off on coatings, recovers, fully adhered recovers, different things of that nature. But as far as what you need to know is, if there's storms coming, document your roof, document your condition. I've seen a lot of insurance companies go back to customers and say, well, you didn't maintain this roof. We're not covering X, Y, and Z. So make sure that you have good documentation of maintenance. They're starting to play that game a little bit. And then, don't rush into a decision. A lot of things I'm seeing in the marketplace is, where our schedule say is out 12 or 16 weeks since being able to start the job. They need to get the job started in 4 weeks because customers are going to lose their insurance, and they pick a contractor that has very little experience in that type of work, and they get halfway through the job and I get a phone call, can you take this job back over? So be careful on who you're choosing. If it's a rush because of insurance, make sure you're making an educated, smart decision. Next slide. Drainage, very important for very many reasons. Water is very heavy. So if you have clogged drains and not proper overflow scuppers, you could collapse a building. We've seen pictures of it. We see it in the news at least once a year, and hopefully no one gets hurt. One thing I've seen a lot of lately on some of these older condos that we're getting into is drainage issues down the line. We actually snake a lot of our own drains with the cameras to ensure that there is proper drainage, ensure there's no debris down the lines. What will happen over time is you'll get some gravel. If it's a gravel built up roof, the drain basket was gone, and after a couple good storms or hurricanes pushing a lot of water on that roof, the gravel will get down in the drain, or just Coke bottles, chicken wings. If you buy a place where there's a lot of bird activity, they'll bring debris up there and it'll get down to that drain and block it down the line. A lot of the code is pretty extensive as far as new overflow scuppers that need to be installed. So those always are an unknown until we do the engineering, but they're very useful as the drains do get clogged up and will get backed up, and you need to make sure you get that water off the roof. And next slide. Some stuff to look for that, I hate to see. I don't like to cut down good trees, but a lot of things I see is trees overhanging on roofs, getting down into the gutters. And then you'll start to get your own, your called planters up in your gutters, planters at the easier roofs or at the corner of your building. This isn't good. You need to get that debris off. What will happen is that even I've seen trees start to grow on roofs. Over time, you'll get the dirt, you'll get the accumulation, a seed will start to set, and next thing you know, in 6 months' time, they'll get some sort of tree growing there, and those roots will get into your roofing system and actually start deteriorating it over time. It's a new version of green roofing, but you got to watch that. Keep everything clear up there. That stuff will get down in your drain and clog it down below. The other thing to watch out for is electrical masts. These are always a good potential to leak. They're very hard to flash per OSHA requirements. Technically, you're supposed to shut down that power source, which no one in an occupied building wants to do. Most buildings have all gone to underground services, but we still see a lot of these out there, so you got to be careful around the electric. Next slide. Different types of metals that we see out there. If you're in a coastal environment, I see it a lot where a consultant or board members will want to just use galvanized steel. My recommendation is if you're within 2 miles of any salt water, being canals, the ocean, you need to be using stainless steel or aluminum. You will get deterioration over time. There is Galvalume out there that will hold up better. But what happens is at the ends where you cut the galvalume or you cut the galvanized and there's no paint on it, that salt over time will migrate into it, just like a cancer, and you'll get corrosion. So make sure if you're on a coastal area, you're using the proper metal, aluminum or stainless. Copper works great too. And then you need to make sure they're using the right fasteners. I've seen roofs gone up on where they used aluminum or stainless, but then they use galvanized fasteners, and the galvanized fasteners caused corrosion between the two. So you got to make sure that you're using the right fasteners with the right metals, because that's going to be the first thing that starts to go in 5 years, 6 years on your roof, and then it'll just migrate into your main roofing system, or it'll blow off in the next wind event that you have. But a little bit of what I was talking about earlier is key safety. OSHA is starting to crack down on the manufacturing environments. I haven't seen it too much on residential housing. But technically, if you have a roof hatch, you're supposed to have guardrails, handrails around it. If you have an exterior ladder, there is code for that as well from OSHA for workspace safety, as well as perimeter guardrails around HVAC or serviceable equipment that are near the perimeter of the roof, where that could provide a fall hazard. So keep that in mind. One thing I like to say is if you are working on any buildings, that picture down below that illustration that have fiberglass skylights, they are no good. We've had severe injuries from them, seen severe injuries from them. What will happen is those fiberglass skylights over time will degrade because of UV, and somebody will be walking across the metal roof thinking life is great, and then they step on the fiberglass skylight that blends in with the metal roof, and you fall straight through the skylight. So please be careful with those fiberglass skylights. We like to eliminate them. If people want natural light in, we can put curbs in and put different types of domes in, which we had done in our own warehouse to eliminate the fiberglass skylights and put metal over them. Introduce our team. We got Vincent up in the Orlando and Jacksonville area. Catherine is in South Florida, business development, Southeast Florida. Anthony's on the West Coast in Tampa, Lakeland, and up the West Coast of Florida. And Tina is in the Fort Myers area in the Southwest Florida. Appreciate everybody's time. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. I see some questions being answered. And